So Drew, as you've walked this journey of growing into your adulthood and trying to fill out, just like every young person ever does in their life, exactly where God might have you be going in life, you've had a lot of different influences in your life, and of course, some of that has been your walk with Christ. And so, as your parents, were just so proud to have this time to kind of sit down and do a little interview with you and give some of your supporters a little bit of insight into what's made you think the way that you're thinking currently. And we're just really excited to see you go into a field of missions where you're going to use some of your gifts and some of your natural talents to be able to tell stories and to be able to influence people and youth, especially, in a very impactful way. And so tell me, on this journey, as you've walked through these past several years and some of the groups and things that you've been involved with, how did this come about, and how do you feel that perhaps your walk with God influenced you in making this decision?
I guess I've been interested in like stories and storytelling for a while. And I really enjoyed doing the drama camp and stuff. And I was thinking about, like, I felt a nudge from God saying that I should probably go on a trip this summer. But I wasn't sure. But then I got invited, and yeah.
That just kind of was a confirmation, as to what you were doing. So, some of your supporters may or may not know that a good part of your life that you've been involved in quite a few different homeschool groups because you've had a good amount of homeschool education, and I'm sure that had some impact on how you made this decision too. Some of your friends are in this group, or are you going at this kind of solo without a lot of your friends going with you?
None of my friends are going.
Oh, none of them?
I won't know anybody pretty much, I don't think.
So this will kind of be a new venture for you as well, because you're going to be using your God-given talents and storytelling and working with people that you may not have had a prior relationship with. And in some sense, that would seem to me be a true type of a missions field where your God-given abilities and your spirit-led direction is going to help impact people that you don't know. And so in a lot of ways, I see that as being a true mission field. As you've grown and matured, your parents, both your mom and I, have really seen that you've taken a real interest in the communications field, especially the art of storytelling. And we've seen some of these influences in your life, even from the time that you were just, an infant beyond, even when you could begin to start play acting. It was real obvious that you had a bent for storytelling.
I guess the main inspiration for wanting to tell stories would be the Tolkien's books and like Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit.
Oh, yeah.
And the movies.
Right.
And then just various other forms of stories, be it movies or video games.
Right.
Which not many people think of as good stories, but a lot of them have really good stories.
Yeah. Tell me about some of your other historical interest in storytelling, some stories, some perhaps eras or time frames that you were really interested in the stories that were told then.
Well, last year I took a medieval literature class, and I found a lot of the stories we read in that interesting, like Beowulf and other classic stories that a lot of actually inspired Tolkien. And yeah, so there's a lot of stories, like Song of Roland was a really long poem that I really liked. Mm-hmm. It had a very moving story, even though most of it was crusade propaganda, but
so you've seen even in your storytelling some of the deeper elements of politics and church and the interactions of medieval times and how it interacts with the story and the way that it's portrayed to the public. Mm-hmm. Interesting. So you even have some sense, I would imagine, of how influential storytelling, even if it's done in a crafty way, can influence people in large masses. Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting. Okay, so A lot of your plays and a lot of the ways that people are drawn or emotionally connected to a story is through music. Do you have any particular genre of music that you particularly are attracted to or that you like?
I really like folk music, so like, yeah, music with stories behind them or like stories affiliated with them. So like, one of my favorite bands is Need to Breathe, which aren't necessarily stories, but a lot of their songs have like meaning behind them, and you can just like almost get the general feeling of the song from like the first verse. And another band I like is the Grey Havens, which are a band inspired by Tolkien and C.S. Lewis, which do have very much a lot of story elements in their songs. And other than that, I just like songs that were sung in history, like sea shanties that sailors would sing while on the sea, and other like war songs that were written during wartime. And
Any particular style of instruments or music or other?
a lot of like old folky instruments. Like I really like the sound of the mandala, and I've been trying to learn that slowly, I admit. But
Again, thank you, Drew, for your passion for the arts and being able to tell stories and tell them well. Again, we're so proud of your ability because I think a lot of people would view you somewhat as an introvert, and I think maybe you would see that some yourself as an introvert as well. So tell me, how do you feel when you walk into a scripted storyline in a play when you're in front of hundreds of people? Do you feel any different? Are you able to deliver your lines well? Does stepping into a storyline help influence you in any way?
I don't know. So, like, if I were to get up on a stage and just talk to people, like giving a speech or something, I'd probably freeze and not do it very well. But for acting, especially when I first started, it was a little nerve-wracking to know a bunch of people were watching me. But as I got more into it, I guess I just started seeing myself more as a character in the story rather than an actor playing a character in the story. So, like, for this last play I did, I actually looked up stuff about the character I played in history and thought more like he would think during like the play and before the play, maybe just trying to like separate myself from being a actor and more being the person I'm acting as. And that didn't make me feel like I was being watched. It just made me feel like I was doing what I was doing.
In these plays that you'll be putting on, a lot of them have, some of them are unique biblical stories, maybe not the most common stories that we've heard about, in our lives. But you'll be performing these in front of a large different number of audiences, and some of the audiences that you will be performing in front of there will be members and friends that attend who don't necessarily have a solid relationship with Christ. In your furthest heart's desire of influencing through this missions work, what would you have the greatest joy in seeing come out of some of the stories that you'll be telling and presentations that you'll be making?
I guess one like goal I've had through any sort of storytelling I do is like eventually I just want to get to a point where I'm able to save like at least one life through storytelling, and that's pretty much it.
That's absolutely true. And then one life can always lead to another and another, because success always breeds success. So again, we're really proud of you as your parents. We are supporting you wholeheartedly. I know this is a big step for you, going out with a group of people that you've never met, traveling across the country, learning how to use your God-given talents and being able to tell stories and tell them well. And we're just excited to see where that might take you in your future life and what God has for you. Thanks again.
Yeah.